Signs of love to God. 1. Not to be afraid of death, and to be always waiting for it. 2. When a man prefers the love of God to any worldly object, chooses whatsoever draws him near to God, and forsakes whatsoever has a tendency to turn him away from God. 3. The remembrance of God is always fresh in his heart. He never ceases to meditate upon God. 4. To love and respect the powerful Koran, regarding it as the Word of God, the prophets and saints, as the friends of God, as well as love all humans. 5. That a man will choose the closet and retirement and have an eagerness for secret prayer. 6. A man finds the worship of God to be easy, inviting and delightful. 7. A man loves the sincere friends and obedient servants of God, and regards them all as his friends. The first sign of love to God is not to be afraid of death, and to be always waiting for it. For death unites the friend to his friend, the seeker to the object which he seeks. As long as attachment to and dependence upon the world cannot be broken off, the traces of love to God cannot be visible. If a person, however, is afraid of death and does not feel a readiness to go into the presence of God, and yet is making every provision for his journey into the other world, it does not follow that he does not possess the love of God. It is, on the contrary, an evidence that he does love God. It is a second sign of love to God, when a man prefers the love of God to any worldly object, chooses whatsoever draws him near to God, and forsakes whatsoever has a tendency to turn him away from God. He desires always to act in accordance with his will and with his approbation, approval. But it is not an indication that a person is entirely destitute of love to God, because he is not in every circumstance submissive to the holy will of God. For, in some persons love may exist in perfection, while in others it may be in some measure defective. It is said, for example, that during the life of the Apostle of God, one of his companions was a wine drinker, and he had oftentimes been punished for it. Another of his companions one day vexed at his conduct, cursed him. The prophet happened to hear him curse him, and knocked for him to come in. When he had come into his presence he said, "Why do you curse that man? He is both a friend of God and of his prophet, and loves them." The third sign of a man's love to God is that the remembrance of God is always fresh in his heart. He never ceases to meditate upon God. Every man thinks upon and calls to mind an object in proportion to his love to it. If a person's love and affection is perfect, he never forgets that object. If a person say, "I love both God and a certain worldly object," attention should be paid to see which of them he loves the most. And then that object can be said to rule in his heart which he loves the most. Gradually from day to day, the object which preponderates will efface little by little all affection for the other. The fourth sign of love to God is to love and respect the powerful Koran, regarding it as the Word of God. A man ought to praise and love the prophets and saints, as the friends of God. He should love all men, saying that they were all created by the will and power of God. Whatever person attains to this point, his feelings of envy and hatred and even his coldness of looks will be quelled and disappear, and he will treat all individuals as his friends. The fifth sign of love to God is that a man will choose the closet and retirement and have an eagerness for secret prayer. He will long and wait for the night, that the avocations and hindrances of the world may be banished, that he may be embarrassed by no distractions in his supplications to his incomparable and unique friend, and that he may be alone in familiar intercourse with God. It is reported that in the days of the children of Israel, there was a slave who prayed every night from evening until morning, but he went out and performed his morning prayer under a tree. God spoke by inspiration to the one who was the prophet at that time and said, "Go and speak to that slave my servant thus. You abandon prayer to me in secret and come out here to pray under this tree, for the sake of the pleasure you derive from the music of the birds over your head. But in so doing you mutilate as it were my love, and you will not again obtain it perfectly." It is also reported that God once said to David, "Oh, David, that man is a liar, who pretends to love me and yet goes to bed and sleeps the whole time till morning. For does not a friend desire to see the countenance of his friend, and is he not eager to have intercourse with him? Whoever wishes to see me, will seek me and will find me." The sixth sign of love to God is when a man finds the worship of God to be easy, inviting, and delightful. It is related that a certain preachers used to say, "I have served God in worship 60 years with irksomeness and constraint. I afterwards served him yet 60 years more, and my devotions were to me spiritual food, and in the absence or disuse of them, I did not enjoy a moment's peace or quiet of mind." The seventh sign of love to God is that a man loves the sincere friends and obedient servants of God, and regards them all as his friends. He regards all the enemies of God as his enemies and abhors them. And God thus speaks in his eternal word, "His companions are terrible towards the infidels, and tender towards each other." A sheikh was once asked, "Who are the friends of the exalted and blessed God?" He replied, "The friends of God are those who are more compassionate to the friends of God themselves, than a father or a mother to their children."